This is Nicholas Bell with Ion Cinema, here to review Slaughterhouse-Five, which is being released by Arrow Video on December 3rd. Slaughterhouse-Five is obviously the adaptation of the famous novel by Kurt Vonnegut Jr., which was written in 1969. It's interesting to me that Vonnegut is not adapted more often. George Roy Hill directed this adaptation, and it's probably not only Vonnegut's most notable novel, but also the most notable adaptation of his novel. A couple other directors have tried to bring his work to screen. The last one, I believe, being Alan Rudolph, who did Breakfast of Champions in 1999, which wasn't well received. This was George Roy Hill's second entry competing at Cannes, and it won the jury prize. And Michael Sachs, who plays Billy Pilgrim, the lead, was nominated for a Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer. Of course, the film is partially autobiographical, based on Vonnegut's time in the war, and it deals with Billy Pilgrim, who is a man that is unstuck in time. And as anybody who's read the novel knows, at any given moment, Billy Pilgrim is thrown back and forth across the spectrum of his life, including into the future, where he's abducted by aliens and placed in kind of a zoo for observation. I'd say that this is a mostly well-received film, and I'd say it's competently made. George Roy Hill made this in between Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Sting. I do find it interesting that overall it's a well-made film, but I want to say a more experimental auteur might have done something else. I kept thinking of Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of Anthony Burgess's A Clockwork Orange, and how he elevated that text into a different medium, which this version of Slaughterhouse-Five indeed feels like vignettes from the novel strung together. Michael Sachs is an interesting screen presence, I find. He kind of petered out by the end of the 1970s, but he was also in Steven Spielberg's Sugarland Express, the original Amityville Horror, and Ted Kotcheff's cult classic cult movie Split Image with Karen Allen. Edgar Derby also stars. Valerie Perrine, if I'm saying her last name right, shows up as an interesting pinup, and it was photographed by Miroslav Andrzejczyk, who of course was the cinematographer on Milos Forman's Amadeus and Hair, among many other productions. I would give this version of Slaughterhouse-Five 3.5 out of 5 stars. Arrow Video's release 4 out of 5. But otherwise, it really made me want to reread Vonnegut's source text, which I haven't visited in over a decade. Thank you.
Hey, this is Eric from IonCinema.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.